because I wanted to take some of these ideas to market. I wanted to support the community and learning about these AI tools. So my first call was to Kent Langley, the CTO CEO of OpenExO, and I think just the week prior he had already created one of those ideas that I had, which is basically a book bot, right?
So welcome to the January Member of the Month video. I'm here with Ben Clayton, who's in Montreal. Ben, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for doing this and for having me.
It's a pleasure. And thank you for being such an amazing community member, for everything that you do. So can you just start off, for the people watching this who are like, I've never heard of this Ben guy, tell us about yourself, a bit of professional background. You're not originally from
Yeah.
Canada, and how you came to actually join the OpenExO community.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about that. Professionally, I've been involved in a lot of things, but I like to think there's one common thread to it all. I'm originally from Nashville, to your point. I studied psychology in the University of Miami. And because I think from ever since I was a teenager, I've been interested in personal development and human potential, which I think really led me to things like meditation and breath work and what I would call transformative processes or practices, first for myself, but then for people and groups that I was working with. But before then, since I was living in Nashville, I played music, right? Everybody needed a bass player. That was easy for me to pick up. So I love that. But I also love film too. And I noticed that really good films and really even bad ones for that matter could really have an impact on me, like a real transformative impact on me personally, but also I saw it, of course, with others as well. And when I started working in film, it took a while, but by the time that I actually co-produced the film and actually had the leading role, I went to LA, and as you do. And I really, at this point, this is now in my 30s or early 30s. I really wanted to leverage film and to address issues that I really cared about, in particular, like climate. Moving to LA was a big deal, and I really loved it. I wanted to have access to nature and the mountains and the oceans, and then I really came to love the desert. LA, of course, is a really vibrant place, and it's also felt like it's a lot more open to innovation and say like new ways of thinking, not only personally but also culturally. And that led me to attend my first Burning Man in 2003. So I think there was some interest there for you too. I think you went to a burn in Africa,
Yeah.
right? Some time ago. Yeah. So just that futuristic look and feel of what I saw in those early days online, and really the design of that contemporary city was really enough for me to go, I have to go there and I have to go soon.
Yeah.
Because I knew that it was so wild and crazy that I knew that it would change, lose some of that kind of wild creative force after it grew and grew. But really, just on a professional side, back to that, I joined my first startup about 2004. It was really even before I knew what a startup was. It was a media play. So I moved from film into media, and the startup was called G Living. And the idea was to make green contemporary and cool. I knew green was going to come and go, and then become sustainability or something like that. But we wanted to really focus on really what was cool and innovative about, say, architecture or food or fashion or business, without really talking about it as, say, green. So we never really highlighted that. We just looked at something that was really cool and sexy. And then Tesla was coming onto the market at the time. So that made it really easy. So we would highlight these kind of companies that were really innovative, doing really cool stuff, really changing the way that we were looking at business and what was possible. And then by that point, I knew that I needed to learn all about business, and there was a lot to learn. And that led to several subsequent startups in renewable energy, regenerative agriculture, even cryptocurrency consulting. And that's when I first heard about OpenExO. And that was actually for the book launch of, I have it here actually, the Exponential Transformation book. This launched in 2018. And I was introduced to it by a dear friend, and I jumped on. And so when he talked about the EXO framework, I was in 100%. And so I took the certification like one after another, and I really loved it.
Okay, yeah. So it's been a number of years. I think we probably joined the community around about the same time. It's really great to have you. And you've also been through sort of the transition of OpenExO as well as a community, from being fairly small, just a few hundred people in 2018, to where we are now. And perhaps we'll get to speak about community as an attribute a little bit later. But in your opinion, what really distinguishes OpenExO from other platforms or communities that you've been a part of or are a part of right now?
It really, I feel like it's steeped in an abundance mindset. And really, the community loves innovation and tech, but it's not just for tech purpose. It's really for the purpose of impact.
Mm.
Looking at what Peter Diamandis has done with, say, the X Prize or Abundance 360, and really, I saw right away that spirit is alive and well within this community as well. And then once I got to know the community more, what really further inspired me was just its diversity, its willingness to pitch in and help and do stuff, to share, collaborate, to explore, listen, and just brilliant people. I don't know where else I could find a community like this.
You have been spearheading the AI working group within the OpenExO community. Why did you go about and
Yeah.
start that?
I guess I got onto ChatGPT at end of 2022. But before that, I'd been interested in AI and data and how can we leverage data. And it's one of the attributes to algorithms within the framework. But with all the ideas that are things that I was seeing coming on market, I was inspired by really what I was seeing. And I had so many ideas of what we could do with generative AI. And I just started to play with GPT. And then I'll say, let's say I had 30 ideas over the course of a week or so. I just started to see all of those ideas come to market like the next day or the next week or something. I was like, oh my God, I have to get in this like full on. It was just too much serendipity or too many signals that were saying this is really
Yes.
something. I have a lot of ideas, right? And I can get into that kind of idea paralysis almost, where it's like, what do I choose or how do I get started? And I usually have a lot of projects on the go, but I really wanted to work with people and to really start to learn and build because there was so much coming. It's like a fire hose every day as to what was coming onto market. Salim had a community call at the beginning of last year, and he says, oh my God, look what's happening with generative AI. What can we do? And I pitched the idea of having a working group to basically meet every week so we could start to learn together. And really, more importantly, was to start building really impactful things
Yeah.
because I wanted to take some of these ideas to market. I wanted to support the community and learning about these AI tools and how we could build not only our businesses that we work with, say as like consultants or coaches, but also our own businesses. So my first call was to Kent Langley, the CTO CEO of OpenExO, and I think just the week prior he had already created one of those ideas that I had, which was basically a book bot, right? So he took the book and he made a book bot out of it that you could have this interaction with all this incredible knowledge. And I have all these books behind me, and I just saw that if I could input this as knowledge into artificial intelligence and basically create a coach for myself or a consultant for me. So, how do I take all this information out of these books and actually apply it so I can use it to have the impact that I really want to have in the world? And so that was the generation of the idea. And then when I pitched it to the community, it just took off.
What really excites you about the EXO model, but then also AI, right? As you've said,
Yeah.
AI is part of algorithms, which is part of the model, but where AI is
Yeah.
right now and how that actually affects people implementing exponential organizations.
It's hard to pick because I love all the attributes that are there and I see them as all really essential and something that I try to leverage. What I see now is that how we can really leverage AI into all the other attributes. So there's not one thing within the framework that can't be empowered or augmented or taken 10x through the power of AI. So I'll take one of my other favorites is community, obviously, right? This year 2024 has been feeling more and more like the year of community, or maybe even a decade. For me, it's like community, AI, and EXO for this decade. And the reason why community resonates to me so much is that we're social beings. We survived in the wild throughout our evolution by banding together and creating community. And it's no different now. And I think it's even more and more important as we become and even feel more isolated.
Yeah.
Say with the power of technology can actually put us into our own little bubble and we never come out of it. And
Mm.
we get stuck scrolling and scrolling. And we know now that the science is starting to show the detrimental aspects of this kind of behavior of just getting sucked into the technology. So I think that if we can leverage it and help to create stronger bonds with other people within our communities that exist already, but also creating new communities around new ideas like the AI working group or new visions that we have for the future, the more and more important it is to create community around that so we can actually get stuff done. Because I used to think that it was up to me to change the world or something. And I think a lot of us have that tendency to really think it is up to us. But we have to rely on each other to do things, to build things. And The more we understand the power of community and really leverage it in a way that's really healthy, supportive, and transformative, I think that's really where we can start to have a bigger and bigger impact.
What you were sharing there around the fact that technology seems to have isolated a lot of people, social media, for example, as you say, you get stuck in the scroll, and you've got now a lot of people concerned about the fact that what is AI going to do?
We have to look at the impact of everything that we do, really. And we have to be cognizant of what we're doing. And I think you have to start with the intention. And I think that's why the MTP and our purpose is so important. Because I really believe if you start from a place where you want to have a positive impact, but you're mindful of basically the impact that's having on kind of the extended view. I think you may know the business model canvas. For listeners that don't know, it's like one of those early frameworks that started to develop around startups where you could actually look at all the different aspects of a business, from your revenue to who your customers were and so on. But it's only like 9 segments that you're looking at. And I started to use a tool called the Flourishing Business Canvas, which actually looks at 16. And so it expands out to look at the environment and social aspects of a business as well, which actually opens up the possibility of a startup to find new ways to market, but also looks at the ways that we have impact that you might not have basically been aware of. And, positive and negative. But I think it's a super useful tool. But the main point I would want to make is that we have to listen, we have to pay attention to what impact that we are having, both positive and negative, and basically adjust accordingly. If the bottom line, if we're just beholden to stakeholders and the only thing that really matters is growth and profits, then of course we're gonna create massive problems like we have with social media.
Yeah.
But if we actually change the objectives of our business in the DNA of where you're starting from the very, very beginning, and say, no, actually what I want to do is create a thriving, healthy environment and culture and society, then you're going to be more cognizant of the impact that you're having, and you're going to adjust as you go so that you're not having the kind of detrimental impact that could happen. I love the book by Barbara Marx Hubbard, end of the 90s, called Conscious Evolution. It's okay, what's working, where do we want to go, and then how can we change things and move in that direction. And so I want to go back to one of the attributes, another one, and that is actually dashboards, odd as it may seem. But the reason why I want to highlight that is because it's another way of saying, like, looking at what is the health of our society? What is the health of our children? What is the health of our families? What is the health of our business? What is the health of the world, environment, and so on? We can now actually put a lot of metrics on all of these things. We do it now with, I'm wearing an Aura ring. It's tracking my sleep and my activity. Have it on my computer, tracking my activity as how long am I on the computer. And then zooming out from there, like we're doing this on all of our platforms and all the ways that we interact online and offline as well. But that includes, say, like the startup I'm involved with now, we're tracking ESGs, environmental and social and governance. And so how are businesses basically addressing ESG within their company? What is their impact? What is their commitment? How are they doing against their commitments and the metrics that they have? And then making it visual to the decision leaders within the company so they actually can make a decision on, are we going in the right direction or not? But I do that on a personal level too. Like I have a project management background, so I learned to do that with my projects that I'm involved with work, but I do it within my personal life. And I can do it with my organization. I can do it with my house. I track electric bills and our finances and budgets. These are all ways that we track how we're doing against basically what our objectives are. But you have to look at it and see it in a way that really makes sense to you, that you can actually digest it, so on. And we could do that with different communities. We could do it with how we're doing politically, et cetera, et cetera. But once you have all that information and then you add the power of AI, like the cognitive power, that basically the ability to parse through all that information, this stuff is complex as hell, right? What do you do with all of this? So what I saw with artificial intelligence that is super, super positive and can be very empowering for all these things I'm talking about is that I actually could take all that information and say, how am I doing against my objectives, the health of my body, the health of my family, my finances, my community, my business, my nation, go out from there. And then basically make decisions.
Essentially, find the correlations within that data. There's information in there that I don't pick up, but the AI ends up being able to see, oh, there's actually a correlation between this and this. Now, maybe it's not a causation, but
Yeah.
so you, of course,
Yeah.
have to check the data.
And it's good that you pointed that out. Looking for all those patterns, helping us predict where things are going based on our past data that we have. And to your point too, you have to check it and make sure that
Yeah.
you have to adjust it. Don't take it for face value just blindly. But what an incredible starting point you have. And to one of your earlier points about the fear of like new technology coming in, not to digress too much, but every new technology has disrupted the way we used to do things, even agriculture, the way that we used to live before agriculture became a technology that we'd use to grow food. It changed the way that we moved around the planet. We basically changed this from being more nomadic to actually starting to building towns and cities eventually. And similarly with computers and phones and all that kind of stuff, it's changing the way that we do work. And now artificial intelligence is just amplifying that by several orders of magnitude. But we could use it in a way that it can actually inform us, like you're saying, like identifying those things that we don't see, starting to notice the patterns in our behavior and all the data that we have, and actually start to adjust it back to where we really want to go. What kind of society do we want?
Yeah.
What kind of relationships do we want? What kind of communities do we want? Are we heading in the right direction or not? And without the data, without real numbers and information that can actually tell us is, okay, actually we're becoming more and more unhealthy. Say there's more issues around mental health. Where could we go back and figure out where we basically missed the mark and adjust from there, and then track from there and see how we've done once we've adjusted.
In terms of joining OpenExO, you've been a member for a
Hmm.
while. How would you say the
Yeah.
experience of OpenExO has impacted your professional and business journey?
Wow, so many ways. First of all, just being around a group of people that's growing and growing that are so brilliant and proactive and purpose driven and really willing to jump in and pitch in and help. I've started several initiatives. I could think of four off the top of my head that really were really impactful for me and successful on a lot of different levels in my own personal growth and professional growth. Like it's opened up so many doors, including the startup I mentioned that I've joined recently, Strategic Thinking Systems, came out of the AI working group. So we invited people to bring projects that they wanted to basically pitch or an idea that they had, say who would like to join this. And Francis Dion, the CEO of STS, came. I invited him here in Montreal, and he pitched his idea. And next thing you know, he had 12 people that joined his organization, myself included. So that kind of impact is huge for people that come in and join.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the skills or the insights that stand out for you?
Just everything around the book, exponential organizations, and the skills that are developed around that. I think of like change management as one. So the way that Salim and the team has identified a way to counter the immune system and to really approach change management in really new and innovative ways and using technology alongside has been a major shift in the way that I think about things. And I think it's super, super important because the one consistency is change. It's speeding up exponentially. We have to adapt. We have to change and be open to what's coming because nothing's going to stay the same. So basically, having an approach or ways to counter our own immune system, we get comfortable in the way that we're doing things normally, day in day out. We're creatures of habit, right? And so we have to challenge ourselves. And another attribute I really love is experimentation, like adopting the mindset, an open mindset, a growth mindset towards experimentation within my own life and the way that I behave and the way that I do things, and then extrapolate that out to my family and business. That was a huge gift for me to really take that kind of approach to business, but then I just learned to start doing it with my own life so that I'm happier, I'm more flexible, I adapt faster, and I have the tools that basically to track how I'm doing and improve.
Now, would you say, Ben, that you're optimistic about the future? And if so, why? And if not, why?
That's another great question. I tend to be more of a glass half full kind of person. I tend to be more optimistic. In the end, it's going to end. At least in this form, this body is not going to live on forever. So that's going to change. But also, I look at my own life and the amount of change that I've gone through personally. That's only going to continue as I grow older, and as the world changes around me. So, and this does answer your question about optimistic or pessimistic. What I know is that the things are going to change, and I have to adapt more of a growth mindset, as I'm saying, in order to change with it. So I feel like I tend to feel like there is more of a grander purpose, but at least picture that I know of. So I've had enough experiences in my life to show me that it's bigger than just my own little ego thinking that I know what's right or wrong. And so I have to continually let go of my limited framework and my ego in order to basically see the bigger picture.
Mm.
And in the end, I trust life. Like all of us are connected because we're all live, living beings connected on this live blue marble hurtling through space. And my feeling is that it's so much bigger than I could possibly understand, that I just have to let go, as I'm saying, and just basically trust that this is all in perfect divine order at some level. And that really makes me feel, I would say, more optimistic. And back to my original point, is things are still going to change, and things are still going to be difficult from time to time. And I'm going to feel pessimistic and so on. But on the bigger scheme, I feel like everything is taken care of and I'm all right.
Awesome, awesome. I always love to end these by asking this question, and that is, if there was only one thing that you could share, what would that one thing be?
If I just listen to myself and what I've been talking about, I guess it is be open. Be open to change, be open to other people's perspectives, question your own beliefs and thoughts. We have a fairly limited lens and perspective on the world, and there's billions of others. And not only humans, but other living creatures and ways of seeing things. I really do my best to stay open as much as I can and to listen deeply to myself and to others. And what that does for me is it opens my heart, and it allows me to care for others and myself at a deeper level. And I feel like that's the right path, just to go as deep as I can into that and just continue to trust that everything's going to work out.
Awesome. Ben, it's been wonderful chatting to you. It's always great chatting to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do within the community.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, thank you very much. And we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
If you enjoyed this video, a sub to the channel would be amazing. And you might enjoy this video where we chatted with Katrina, who was Member of the Month for December 2023.